Hey guys, what's up? So today I'm going to be bringing you my first ever book talk, and I'm so excited about it. Even though I feel like every single video I've posted so far, I've said it's my first ever video of some kind or another. Who cares? Let's just get right into it. I am going to say this though about my book talks for now, and whenever I post a book talk in the future, I don't want to kind of make two separate videos, one spoiler free, one spoiler full. I want to just kind of combine them into one video. So I'll make the first half of my videos spoiler free. Anybody can watch that. I won't really be saying anything like huge about the book that'll give anything away. The next half of the video will be me gushing about anything and everything I read that I loved and things that I didn't like in the book. If you haven't read the book yet, make sure to only watch the first half, because if you watch the next half, you will be spoiled, most definitely. If you don't want that to happen, I've warned you now. So today I'm going to be doing a book talk on the first book that I ever read for BookTube, and it's not really that I read it for BookTube. It was just the first book that I started reading when I started BookTube, and that book is Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard by Rick Riordan. I loved this book so much. Like, I really did. I love the cover so much. Like, these colors, these are like the colors that are in my room right now. I know that you can't see this part of my room that I'm looking at now, but this is like the colors. And so I really love this cover. I would definitely give this book probably a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And before you like attack me for saying, Ashley, you just said you absolutely love the book. Why are you not giving it 5 stars? The only reason I wouldn't give it 5 stars fully is because it took me a while to actually get into it. And that's probably because I know next to nothing about Norse mythology. Now, when I was going into the Percy Jackson series, it was really easy for me to get into it because I already knew a lot about Greek mythology. With Magnus Chase, I don't know who half of these gods are. I know Odin, Thor, and Loki, and Asgard, and that there are 9 worlds, and the Bifrost. And how do I know that? Because I'm really freaking obsessed with Marvel movies. I actually have to say that I prefer the gods in this book over the ones in Marvel. Rick Riordan, if anybody has read the Percy Jackson series, and if you haven't, go read it. It will change your life. You'll know that he puts his own spin on these gods. He makes them so funny, and I don't want to say relatable, but they are. It's like there are people like this in real life that you can kind of picture them portraying these gods. This book follows Magnus Chase, who, if you've read the Percy Jackson series, you can already tell is going to be related to one of our beloved characters that I won't give away if you haven't read the books yet, because I don't know if people might get mad at me for doing that, so go read them. I loved the characters, I loved the plot, I loved how Rick Riordan put his own little spin on everything mythological, and I seriously cannot wait for The Hammer of Thor. Like, I cannot wait for the next book in October. I need it now. I think that's it for the not spoilery section. I don't really have a whole lot more to say that can't be spoiled. I actually almost said some spoilery things while filming this, and I had to stop myself, and so it's gonna take a lot of editing to edit this and piece it together in a way that I know is gonna make sense, but I'll get around to it. For all of you who haven't read this book, you should probably pause or leave now and come back once you have read this book, and you should definitely read this book. So, bye! Okay, for all of you people who have read this book, how many people saw Annabeth coming in the very first chapter? I did. I did, and I was so freaking excited for it. Oh my god. It was dying when he kind of described that there was this girl with a dad-like figure, and they were walking around handing out posters, papers of him, like, where, have you seen this guy? Have you seen Magnus? And he described her, and as soon as he said a girl, I was like, Annabeth. Got it. But then he kind of like kept giving hints as to like she's wearing an orange t-shirt, she has blonde hair, beautifully gray eyes, and that's when you knew like Annabeth. I wanted to see them together in the first chapter, like interacting. Obviously they didn't, because he's got to make you wait for some things, right? So that kind of like had me on edge, like when are they gonna see each other? When, oh my god, when's it gonna happen? I loved it so much. Even before that, just the little blurb that Rick Riordan writes at the very beginning that Magnus is saying, I honestly did not see him actually dying as a kind of thing that would happen in the plot. I really didn't see that. I thought that he was just kind of like over-exaggerating, you know, using like hyperbolic language, kind of being like, oh, this is how I died, like, but not really dying. But no, he actually dies. But when he dies, he does become an Enheriar. I think that's how you pronounce it. I had to write that down and say it like 12 times over, but Enheriar. That's how I pronounced it. So that's okay. One of my favorite moments was actually the very first battle that he has with Surt and the Sword of Summer. He pulls this sword out of the water. He pulls out this like metal rusted barnacle strewn thing. And I'm like, that's not the sword. Surt comes along. He wants the sword to free Fenris, accelerate Ragnarok. And he goes and starts fighting Magnus. Magnus calls on Frey, maybe. The sword becomes all beautiful and glowing and everything, and they have this fight scene. Now, I was kind of expecting, as much as I don't want to admit it, Magnus to just kind of like kick some ass. But of course, in like the 6th chapter, that's not going to happen all the time. Or any of the time. Now what I didn't expect was Magnus to push himself and Surt off of the bridge and fall to his death. I did not see that coming. But then you get a glimpse of the Valkyrie coming down and grabbing him and bringing him to Valhalla, where he becomes an Enheriar and has Enheriar strength and abilities and goes and just actually kicks some ass. So I really, really liked that part. Another moment that I absolutely loved was when in chapter 25-26, Annabeth comes along again. And I know I keep talking about the moments with Annabeth in it, but I can't help it. I just love Annabeth so much. And I love how Rick tied his 2 series together. So Magnus is down back in Midgard. He's still an Enheriar, but now he's not immortal, he's mortal. He can actually die. He goes to his own funeral to see if he can find the sword that he died with. But when he gets there, it turns out Annabeth is already there too, and so they have a talk, and she comes to find out that he's not really dead. And then you get like this little kind of back and forth conversation between them. And so you get this part where their 2 worlds of Norse and Greek mythology kind of come together, but they don't. And I feel like I remember hearing something in the Percy Jackson series that if something might happen, if that, I mean, obviously the Greek and Roman demigods, that really went well, right? Something has to happen. And so the epilogue really leaves that hanging, where she's like, I bet I can top your story, and he's like, try me. I was just so happy with that. Another thing that I really loved about this book was kind of the parallels that it draws to Percy Jackson, you know? The Norns come and Magnus is like, they give him a prophecy, and it just brought me back to Percy Jackson and him getting his first prophecy. His big defining moment when they put the screen up with the video of what happened, even though they edited it so it didn't look like anything really happened, but his big defining moment. One of my favorite Percy Jackson parallels ever was literally almost the mention of Percy Jackson. Magnus is talking to his sword. Could you do a glamour and turn into something smaller? Preferably not a chain, since it's no longer the 1990s. Such as what? I don't know, something pocket-sized and innocuous? A pen, maybe? A pen sword? That is the stupidest thing I have ever heard. Oh my god. A pen sword. You guys know what that... You guys know where I'm coming from with that. So, my favorite character, actually, is Hearthstone. And even though he's deaf and he's mute and he doesn't talk, that's what I like about him so much. He's so different. And his family, oh my god, his backstory just literally made me cry. I was like in tears when I listened to it. He has so much darkness inside him. His family didn't accept him as a deaf elf. They didn't see him as like the perfect elf that they wanted him to be. And even to add on to that, his brother died when he was little and his parents blamed him. His parents said that the wrong brother had died, and that was so like saddening to me. Like, how can somebody do that to their own child? He wanted to start practicing magic and rune magic to kind of make up for that. I just loved him so much. And just the moments where he called Magnus brother, and it got to me. It got to me. Blitz is another story. I really liked him. I loved his like little fight kind of competition scene he had with the older dwarf, which I can't remember his name. I loved that, and I absolutely loved how he's like so fashionable. Like, I thought that was such a cute, funny touch. I love how close he is with Hearth. They're like best friends, and all three of them make like the cutest little family. I love it so much. Samira, or Sam, is like my second favorite character, honestly. I love how she wears her hijab all the time. Well, not all the time, but sometimes. And I love how it has powers. Like, that's so cool. She's the only one of these characters who actually leads a double life. So at some points she's a Valkyrie, at some points she's just a normal human being going to school and living with parents and grandparents, and I love how she's able to keep that steady. Now, I hated the part where they kind of denounced her as a Valkyrie. I thought that was so stupid and so unnecessary, but I guess it kind of moved the story along, and in the end, she does become a Valkyrie again, and I was so happy. Oh my god, like I saw it coming, but I was so happy. Another thing about the end, when you find out that that big troll X was actually Odin. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. Back to the god thing though. I love Thor especially though, because he was so funny. He was like, I lost my hammer, but don't really tell anybody that I lost my hammer, and it wasn't really my hammer, but I lost it. Like, you know what I mean, if you know what I'm talking about if you read this. And the last thing that I wanted to touch on that I really liked was that the sword talks. Oh my god, the last line that I remember actually like laughing and like finding so funny was the sword was like, blades before babes, yo. Blades before babes. I love it so much. I don't see what part of this book didn't have the Riordan touch on it, honestly. That's what I call it. That's what I have to call it, because after 10 books, 11 now, I'm really excited to read The Trials of Apollo. I have just learned to pick out everything that is so Rick Riordan in these books. And I wanted to pick out some of my favorite quotes, or the favorite quote that I had in the book. But in this book there were so many, and they were all so funny. You missed a pedestrian. You want to go back and hit her? Did the furniture offend you? Let's take that hill! He pointed to a nearby ridge at the edge of the woods. Why? I yelled. Because it's a hill! He loves taking hills, Mallory grumbled. It's a Civil War thing. You don't want my soul. It's really small. I don't use it much. I doubt it even works anymore. It's a duck. And what does it do? When I press the back, it turns into a larger duck. And two of my favorite quotes of the whole book are actually chapter names. Hearthstone passes out even more than Jason Grace, though I have no idea who that is. That's so true. Oh, so that's who Fenris smelled in chapter 63. So all in all, this book made me laugh so much. This book made me tear up at times. It was just such a good read, and I seriously cannot wait for the next one. I love Rick Riordan and his work so much, and I'd seriously read anything by him, except for maybe the Kane Chronicles, because I never got into those. As for Magnus Chase, I would seriously recommend this to anybody who wants to pick up a book. I probably wouldn't read this before I read the Percy Jackson series, just because you won't appreciate Annabeth's presence in the book as much as you do after you read those. And so that's it for my book talk, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And comment down below if you read this book, if you have any thoughts on it, if you agree or disagree with anything that I said. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more. My name is Ashley. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!